Hi everyone. In this video we will go over calculated fields in Tableau. So the first step we will need to do is to open a new Tableau, and then I will go to Excel, and this file should be provided to you already in Blackboard, and you should already have it from a previous tutorial. So I'll open it, and then we are going to work with the order sheet. So I'll drag it to here, and then I will go to new sheet. So in today we will actually go over creating some formulas and calculated fields like what we did in Excel, but here we are doing it in Tableau. So there are different ways that we can create calculated fields, so let's look at some examples today. So first we will start by dragging profit to columns. So we are going to create actually a simple profit visualization. So I'll put profit into the columns, and then I'll drag market into the rows, and I will also drag subcategory to the rows. And then I'm gonna use category as my filter. So I'll select all, and I want to filter, so I'll make sure that it shows, and I'm going to filter furniture only. So now you can see that the positive profits and the losses or negative profit is in the left side. So now it looks good to me. However, what if I want to create or to show in my visualization profits in one color and losses in, or the positives in one color and the negatives in another color? So in this case I will need to create a binary variable or a variable that has two options, negative and positive. So I need to create a calculated field in this case, and I will call it positive negative, so either positive or negative. So it's a binary variable or a dummy variable, you can call it, or a categorical variable. So in this case we can create that by going to analysis, and then we can say create calculated field. So this calculated field, I'm gonna call it sign of profit, and then I will click here, and then I will put this function here, and it's an if statement. So I will say if sum, so sum basically the aggregate or the total of profit, if the sum of profit is greater than 0, then positive. So in quotation, call it positive, close that quotation, else, oops, so else negative, close that quotation, and then call it end. So now I'll make sure that the calculation is valid. So it says it is valid. I'll click OK. Now automatically I had my new calculated field showing here under measures, and it has an equal sign in front of it. That shows that it is a newly created field. So now I can create, actually I can just double click on it or drag it to color. So the sign of profit, I can drag it to color. Now it will show me nice color. So I can change the color. I just changed this color myself. So I can just click on color, edit color, and then select what you want for negative. Let's say that you want for negative to be positive, or let's say, let me select this guy. You want the negative to show in red, and let's say you want the positive to be in green. Just an example. So it's up to you. Now it looks nicer, or blue versus red. So it's up to you. But this is the idea. Now let's move on and see if we can create. Let's say that we want to look at the cost. We want to see the cost, but we don't have the cost variable here. And as we all know, the cost basically shows it is the sales minus profits. It tells us the cost. So we don't have the cost variable here. So let's create that one. So we can create a calculated field by either double or right clicking on under the data here. Just right click here in a blank area and then say create calculated field, or just go to analysis and then say create calculated field. So there are two ways. So I'll use this right here. I will call this one cost. So what did we say cost function should be? Sum, and then it should be sales minus sum, or the aggregate or the total of profit. So basically this is the formula or the function for cost. I'll click OK. Now I'll just drag profit and I want to see the cost here. So I don't need actually color, so I'll drag it. So what I'm interested in is in the cost. See the equal sign? I'll just drag it, put it here. Now I can see the cost, how much it costs this company to produce each of those products. So chairs cost the most, as we all see here. So you get the idea here. This is that we just went through how we can create calculated field. Now let's move on and see how we can calculate the difference or the time between dates. Let's say that we want to see how long it takes. So create a new one. So how long does it take to ship from the moment the order of the product was placed to the moment it was shipped? So how long is that process take? From the moment you order the product to the moment it gets shipped to you. So now let's calculate that. We don't have it here, but we will need to create that calculated field. So for us, we want to see the average time for each country. So let's create that calculated field. So like what I did, so I don't need to select. I don't want to highlight any of those. So just make sure that you click somewhere here and then create. So in this case, we are going to call it time to ship. And then I will calculate that, and as we mentioned, the time to ship is basically the difference between the time that the order was placed to the time the order was shipped. So in this case, we are going to use a function and a keyword that is called dated if. So I'll use this dated if. So dated if, and then apostrophe day, close that apostrophe, and then comma, and then I will call it order date, and then comma, and then ship date. So basically this function should show me the difference between those from the moment the order date to the shipping date, and then it shows the calculation is valid. I will click OK. Now I have it. So now to show that, I'm going to double click. So I'm going to double click on the country to show the map, or actually I'm going to select country. So let me select the country and then click on control, and then I will select this new variable that I just created. So what was it? Time to ship. Alright, so now I highlighted both of them, and then I'll go to show me, and then I will select this map here. Now it will show me the total. Actually, it shows me here the sum. I'm not interested in the sum, I'm interested in the average. So I'm going to change it to average. So average time to ship. Now it shows me the map of the world and shows me which country, how each country on average, how long it takes to ship from the moment it's ordered to ship. So that's one way. And as we mentioned, we can always change the background color can change it to any color you are interested in. So here, so the farther, I'll just put it, so the blue means it takes longer versus the brown, or whatever that color is, orange, is least time. Chat, it takes only 2 days. Well, so this is kind of really nice visualization, allow us to answer questions in a nutshell just by looking at it. Now let's look at some other functions that Tableau or other calculations that Tableau allows us to do. So there is something called table calculation, which is actually a secondary calculation that is performed on top of a return result set. For example, Tableau includes a set of predefined, commonly used computations called quick table calculations, and we will do one example of this in a little bit. So this allows us to, this gives us options actually like running total, percent of total, and year-over-year growth. So let's try one. We'll add a new sheet, and now we will select category to columns. Oops, so I'll drag category to columns, and then I will drag sales to rows, and then I will also drag order date to column. So now I need to change this to continuous, and I want it to be quarters. Remember, this is discrete, and if this area here is continuous, so I'll select quarter. Now I can actually create or have two axes. So now what I will do is I will select or drag sales again, and I will drop it here under rows. So now I have two axes. So now I will change this one into, I will use the add table quick table calculation, and I want the total or running total. And instead of the quarterly, here I have the quarterly totals, but here I have the running total for the whole table. So now this is how we can create this. So, and if you look here, you will see that the delta sign just tells us that there is a table calculation. Now let's go on and see if we can create data validation, or we convert nulls to zeros. So a common issue, as we all know, that with real world data is that the data sets are actually, there is a presence of null values or blanks in the data, and this can make data analysis very challenging and frustrating, and most tools actually don't allow us to run calculations and analysis if there are null data sets. Luckily, with the calculations in Tableau, we will be able to easily remove nulls from our data. So let's learn how to do that together. Now we will open the table, the file, the Tableau file that I provided to you. It is provided in Blackboard, and it's called sales coda. So I'm gonna open this guy, and then we will learn how we can get rid of nulls or replace nulls with zeros. That way we will be able to easily deal with it. So this is what we have. So now what I will need to do is I will need to first click on country. I have to show here the countries that where this organization or company is operating. Now when I right click and I want to see the data set, I can see I have countries, and the codas in some countries it is null, means it's blank, there is no values here. So I want to, because I want to compare sales to codas, so the coda here is 275,000, but the sales is 190. So I want to compare those two. How are we doing in terms of meeting the quota? Are we exceeding or not exceeding the quotas or the goals that were put for the sales? So now we need to reduce or remove those nulls and replace them with zeros. That way we can compare the sales values into real numbers rather than to blanks. So this is what we will do. To do that, we will need to create a calculated value. So I can just right click and create calculated field, and I will call it here corrected quota. Oops. Corrected quota. And then to do this, I will just use a function or a keyword called zn. This function actually replaces nulls with zeros. So I'll just type zn, and then I will I'll drag quota, or you can just type and put it in between those brackets here. So zn quota, it is valid. I'll click OK. Now I have the corrected quota there. Now you will see, if I look at the view data and then go to the full data, you will see the corrected quota was replaced with 0 instead of null, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. So that's the corrected data, the corrected values. Now, as we said, the initial goal of our analysis here, we want to compare sales to quotas. So now we need to create another calculated field, and we are going to call it quota compare. So in this quota compare, we are going to see the difference between the sales, or we will deduct corrected quota from sales. So that's basically what we will do. Sum and then sales minus sum corrected quota. So basically this is our formula or function. Click OK, and we call that compare. Now I'll just double click on quota compare. Now you will notice that Australia, Taiwan, and Portugal, they have the largest values, and the reason for that is because sales minus 0 will give us the total sales, and that's exactly what we have here. So for Austria, minus 0 gives us that value. So this is all that I wanted to cover in this calculated field tutorial, and I'll see you soon.